Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Journey of the Master podcast. I'm Sara Landon, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. This topic for this episode is called From Dream to Reality, moving your dreams and desires out of your heart and into your experience, and knowing once and for all that even the biggest dreams in your heart are possible. So, thank you all so much for being here with me today. And hello to everybody that is joining us live and saying hello. We are happy you are here for this conversation today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As you can see behind me, I am also celebrating one of my biggest dreams come true right now as we record this live with the global release of my newest book, co-authored with New York Times bestselling author Mike Dooley, The Dream, The Journey, Eternity, and God. Channeled answers to life's deepest questions. It is now available and is already a bestseller. So thank you to all of you in our community for supporting me and Mike and the council and the release of this new book. Thank you for getting your copy, and you can currently get your copy in paperback, ebook, or audiobook. You can also find it on the Hay House app, who is our incredible publisher. So it's the perfect topic and it's the perfect timing to be discussing moving your dreams into your reality. Hello to everybody that's on live. Good to see you. We love being here live with you. And this will include a channeled message from the council. So if you're new to me and you're new to my work, and maybe you've never heard of the council before, I experience what people often refer to as channeled information or channeled messages that come through me from a place of higher wisdom and higher consciousness. And this collective is known as the Council. They come forth to offer us the grandest perspective of our human experience and all that is possible as we each create our extraordinary lives and remember the power within each and every one of us to create our reality. So, from dream to reality, turning those desires in your heart into your experience. One of the things that the council shares often is that desires come forth from our soul for the purpose of expansion. Desires are placed in our hearts, in our awareness, in our imagination for the very purpose of our own expansion. Sometimes people talk about what they want or what they need. And while that's a very realistic experience to look in your reality and say, well, I need this or I want this because I don't have it. Desires are something very different. In fact, I believe that the dreams in our heart are precisely divinely given to us to live our destiny and to create the most extraordinary lives possible for us. So take a moment and really reconnect to the dream that you have in your heart. Connect to that desire that your soul placed in your heart. It is in your heart for a reason, and it was placed in your heart and your heart alone. And while some of us may have similar dreams and desires for our lives, the fulfillment of those dreams and desires, the journey to creating those dreams and desires are unique for everyone. And if it's possible for anyone, then it's possible for you. So, about 10 years ago, I was working in the corporate world. I had spent many years building my corporate career and company and doing what I thought was what was successful, what was I was supposed to be doing. And yet I had this feeling that there was something more. I didn't feel the sense of fulfillment in my life, and I felt like I had some greater calling or greater purpose. And I remember at that time waking up in the middle of the night and hearing this voice that said, Sara Landon is a spiritual teacher. Well, at that time, I had absolutely no credentials or idea of how I would ever become a spiritual teacher. I have always been very spiritual. I was raised religious and then discovered metaphysics and spirituality. And it has always been a part of my life. I have read many different books from spiritual teachers and many different channeled sources, but in no way did I think that I was going to ever be a channel of the council or a spiritual teacher. But I heard this very clearly, and it began to inspire this dream within me. At the time, the only person I really knew of that was a spiritual teacher was Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer had started out as a doctor writing books on psychology. And then later, after becoming a very established, successful author, began to share spiritual wisdom and became a spiritual teacher and had published many, many books. I also was very inspired back in 2007 by the movie The Secret that many of you have watched. Of course, it was a worldwide phenomenon, and many of us still bring up The Secret, and yet so many of us have expanded beyond just the idea of the law of attraction into a greater understanding of true creation, sort of the secret behind the secret, or the secret that was never fully shared in The Secret. But in that secret movie was a very incredible man named Mike Dooley. I remember hearing his story. I remember feeling very connected to his story. He was very inspiring to me. I might have thought of him more as a personal development leader or a self help teacher. And yet, over the past many years, if you are a fan of Mike Dooley, as I am, you'll know that he's become very much spiritual in nature, talking about realization and awakening. And so, oftentimes, you might find that as you are connecting to the dream in your heart, a desire may have been placed there, an idea, an inspiration, a vision. And then all of a sudden, these pieces start coming in, or you realize experiences that you've had in your life are a puzzle piece to this greater dream in your heart. In that moment, I also had the desire to write a book and to publish a book, and not just with anyone, but very specifically with Hay House. I had read many Hay House books. I had been to some Hay House events, and I just was so in awe of the incredible work that they were doing, inspired by Louise Hay, who was the founder of Hay House. And so I wanted to publish a book, but I was very specific. I wanted to publish a book with Hay House. Somehow, as a spiritual teacher, I had no idea how that would ever happen. And I uh, really wanted Hay House to come to me. I know it sounds like sort of a funny dream or desire, but I had heard nightmare stories over the years from people who had these great books and yet had a really hard time finding a publisher, or a publisher that really understood the material in their book. And so if I think back to 10 years ago, I had absolutely no reason to think that that dream was possible for me. But the dream never went away. And the journey then began unfolding. I ended up leaving my corporate career, and through a divinely orchestrated spiritual meeting, I met a woman who was a QHHT practitioner, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique, which was developed by Dolores Cannon. I was not going to this QHHT session to become a channel. In fact, there was absolutely nothing that I ever thought would ever be possible, or something that I would even ever do. But I was seeking answers to the big questions. As you will find in this book, Channeled Answers to Life's Deepest Questions. I had some really big questions. I had some deep questions about life. And I had studied religions, spirituality. I had gone to personal development workshops. I had read books. I had done everything I possibly could to find the answers to these questions. I knew I had some greater calling. I knew I had some greater purpose. I knew we all have this higher potential. And yet I had no idea how to live it. And I couldn't find the answers to those questions anywhere. So I was going to this QHHT session with this amazing woman, and I was going to tune into my soul and receive some answers from my soul. Well, much to my surprise, over the experience I had with her doing QHHT, I began to channel some higher wisdom that was coming through me. My voice changed. I started speaking different. And all of a sudden, the answers to my biggest questions were not just coming to me, but were coming through me. And so for the next year, I really did absolutely nothing. I had left my corporate career and I was meeting with my friend who was the QHHT practitioner. I'd bring some questions, she'd bring some questions, and she would help me get into a channeled state through just relaxation and visualization. And then the council would come through and answer all of our questions. And these questions, these answers began to just completely change my life and began to change her life. And very cautiously, I shared the counsel with a few friends who also experienced life changing and profound transformations through the counsel's wisdom. And so I thought, well, maybe I should write a book. I don't even know where to begin sharing this wisdom with the world. Where do I even start? I still had this dream of writing this book with Hay House, but I didn't even know where to begin. I actually started on YouTube. I started making just some really short YouTube videos. I had no idea how that was going to ever lead to anything more, or certainly the dream in my heart becoming a reality, but that's where I started. I then began doing private sessions here and there, one or two, maybe a week, with people who wanted to ask questions of the council, still not seeing how that would ever lead to the dream I had in my heart. Some of those times were really difficult. I felt like I was completely off track. I felt like I had screwed up my entire life. I felt like I had made probably the biggest mistake I could ever make, walking away from my very successful career and really not knowing where I was headed. I felt like, who am I to have that dream or even think it's possible for me? And I doubted myself. I, um, I felt a lot of um, almost even shame for not knowing the answer to the question, what are you doing with your life? Why did you leave your job? Why did you leave your relationship? What are you doing with your time and your day and your life? And yet, as I tuned in, I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I just kept channeling the council's wisdom and practicing it and living it in my own life and sharing it here and there with people who wanted to do a private session and ask their questions. Well, then that turned into doing group sessions. A friend said, well, can you channel for a group if I put together a small group of people? And I don't know. So I did, and it was awesome. And then they began to share it with some other friends. I ended up going on a little tiny um, webinar of this woman who had started a little small group where she just did a free call once a month. And I ended up going on that call. And then I started doing that call more often. We did it a couple times a month. And then I started creating courses. And all of a sudden, after a couple of years of this, things really started to change for me. And I had some moments in time where things beyond what I could have ever imagined to ask for began to show up in my life. I was invited on to a really, really large summit that had been very, very successful and allowed me to connect to people all over the world and share the council's wisdom. I was introduced to amazing people in my industry where we started doing events together. My community began to grow. We started a master's class program. And all of a sudden, things seemingly overnight sort of took off for me. But it wasn't overnight, I have to tell you. And it was a long process. And that process was about getting over my own fears and doubts that the dream in my heart could actually be my reality. And I know so many of you can relate to this. Either you have already realized the dream in your heart or a dream in your heart, and you remember that time, or maybe you're in that place right now where you've stepped away from everything safe and secure and who you thought you were, or who you thought you were supposed to be, to follow some higher purpose, some greater calling that you feel, to realize a dream in your heart, because you have this desire to move your dream or desire into your reality to be your experience. So, like I said, some very divinely orchestrated things showed up and changed the course of my life. And I can look back and connect the dots and say, oh, this person introduced me to that person, and that event came from that introduction, and that I got introduced to this person or that person. And all of a sudden, I found myself sitting in a restaurant next to Mike Dooley. Now, that alone was an absolutely incredible experience. I have this awesome little fly buddy who wants to be on camera too, apparently. So I'm sitting in this restaurant next to Mike Dooley, and he's sitting on my left side. We had just met. I was a huge fan. I had always thought that Mike Dooley channeled his messages from the universe. If you aren't subscribed to Notes from the Universe, absolutely. Go to tut.com and subscribe to Notes from the Universe. Mike Dooley's, oh my gosh, his inspiration is clearly channeled. It is always the perfect message every day. And so here I am sitting next to Mike Dooley, sitting on my left side, and I hear from the council over my right shoulder, Mike is an ascended master, and we're going to help him realize that he's an ascended master. And I got the little nudge. Ask Mike if he wants to do a session with the council. Now, I didn't even know. He didn't know me. He didn't know the council. I knew he was familiar with channeling because our mutual friend who was a channel introduced us. But I thought, who am I to think that Mike Dooley would ever want to talk to the council? Or, gosh, what if he thinks I'm weird or woo woo? And I'm not going to ask him that. Well, as I teach in my courses sometimes and did recently, what is the one question that you haven't asked that if you did just might change the course of your life forever? Well, that was my moment. And I eventually, shortly after meeting Mike, reached out and said, I'd love to offer you a session with the council. And would you be interested? You can talk to them about anything. We'll record it. And he jumped at the opportunity. And then I was even more nervous than asking him if he wanted to do a session, because now I'm going to be doing a channel session with Mike Dooley. Like, what is going on? Right. So we have an amazing session with the council. I can still remember so much of his incredible, deep life questions that he asked the council from his very first session. He did several sessions after that with the council that were just so profound, bringing through new levels of awareness and consciousness and answers and things that were beyond what the council had ever brought through before. And we knew we were brought together for something special. And we joked around, hey, we should do an event sometime. Well, Mike calls me out of the blue one day and says, I got some time open in my schedule in August. So this would have been August of 2021. Do you want to do an event together? So we did. It might have been July or August, but right around that time. And so we had over 25,000 people join us for an event called The Dream, The Journey, Eternity, and God, which was Mike Dooley asking questions live via Zoom to the council. And we did this all via video and audio. It was an amazing event. People loved it. And that is where the inspiration for the book came from. Well, as a result of that live event, Mike said to me, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, well, actually, I have written a book. So throughout this whole time, I had been putting together a book with Sarah Elizabeth on my team of the council's wisdom. And we called the book The Wisdom of the Council. I had never sent it to a publisher. I had never tried to get it published. It was almost complete except for one final chapter or two. And it was just kind of sitting there, but it was inspired. It was effortless. It was choiceless. We were having fun with it. There was times when she'd be really into the editing process of it. And then other times the energy wouldn't be into it. And so Mike says, would you ever want to publish a book? And I said, well, yes, I have one. He said, well, let me introduce you to Hay House. So Mike Dooley introduced me to Hay House. I send over the manuscript for my book. And within a couple of weeks, not only did I have a publishing deal with Hay House for a book, my first book, The Wisdom of the Council, but they gave us a proposal for Mike and I to write a book together about the dream, the journey, eternity, and God, which was Mike Dooley asking life's deepest questions to the council. So this all started over 2 years ago. And now I am actually living the dream. It is now a reality. We published it on June 13th of 2023. It's already a bestseller. I'm working on my third book with Hay House. I can't believe that. So I share all of this with you for a couple of different reasons. I absolutely know what it's like to be inspired with this dream or desire and want it more than anything and feel the truth of it in every cell of your body and then have absolutely no idea how your dream is going to become a reality. But that dream has been placed in your heart for a reason. And while the realization of that dream is of the most magical and incredible moments of life, the journey to the realization of that dream really is the very best part. The people you meet along the way, the experiences you have, who you become in the process is the very best part of moving your dreams into your reality. And you're going to have times where you have no idea what you're doing or where you're going. You're going to doubt yourself and wonder if it's really possible or if you've screwed up your life. You might have times of being in the knowing and you know and you want it so much and you think you're doing everything you possibly can to make it happen and still it hasn't manifested or moved into your experience. And the other little thing I've learned along this path is it is in that moment when you absolutely know, you still may have no idea how it's going to happen. And it's almost painful at that point because the truth is, it's already in your reality. It's already in your force field of consciousness. It's already there. It's already created. It's already done. And there's just this moment where it moves into form. And it is those times right before that happens where sometimes it feels like the dream is impossible. And so trust yourself. And if your soul has placed a dream in your heart, then your soul knows the easiest, most effortless, harmonious path from where you are to where you need to be and will guide you every step of the way. Absolute knowing is beyond trust. It's an opportunity to really, truly feel into your knowing that you are a powerful creator, an impeccable creator, that you matter, that your dreams matter, that your dreams are in your heart for a reason. Even if your human doesn't know how to make it happen, you have this absolute knowing that some higher power does know how to bring it into your experience at just the perfect time, in the most perfect way, usually with the most divinely orchestrated synchronicities and unfolding. So trust yourself. Trust yourself fully in this experience. And in those moments when you doubt, just take some deep breaths. Go back to the vision that you have. Go back to reconnecting to your desire. Don't worry about what you don't have or what you think you need. Go back and reconnect with the dream in your heart. Go back and reconnect with that desire. And I'll ask you this question. Go back into that dream in your heart. Is it coming from your own perceived lack? Is it coming from some limitation you believe? Is it coming from some fear? Or is it really truly something that you know was placed and inspired within your heart? Because for most of us, there's a very big difference between needing and wanting something, which comes from lack and limitation, and true desire, where you may have no idea where it came from. When I heard those words, Sara Landon is a spiritual teacher, and I began to have this dream and saw this book being published by Hay House over 10 years ago, I had no idea where that was coming from. It just was choiceless. So I know we have some questions here, and very good. Ivy is here supporting me on this call today. So thank you. Thank you. The question is, the council has said anything that you love has the ability to awaken you. Does this include both the noble things we love, like family members, a great meal, a sunset, and ignoble things we love, like some people could love heroin, war, abuse, etc.? If so, that's a bit scary. Legitimate question, right? I heard someone talking today about something being spiritual and something else not being spiritual. Actually, it was yesterday. It was a conversation about the stock market. And a few people in my community were having this conversation about how they have this spiritual life and then they are involved in the stock market or investing, which isn't very spiritual. And the council instantly, I could feel them. And they said, everything is spiritual. You are what makes things spiritual. Everything is holy. Everything is sacred and divine. And when you align that sacredness to the highest level of consciousness and true love, real love, that feeling of love, it has the power to do absolutely the impossible in your life. The question about anything that you love has the ability to awaken you. It's not my experience that someone really loves being abusive or someone really loves war or someone really loves doing drugs or something that is harmful to them or others. To me, that's coming from a place of fear. But does that experience have the ability to awaken someone? It does. Do you need to have that kind of experience to awaken? Absolutely not. To me, when we talk about anything that you love has the power to awaken you, I can think about someone in my life who has never been really open to spirituality, has very strong religious beliefs that they were taught from a very young age about fear and God and sin, and hasn't really ever been open to communication from the other side until their dog died. Prior to this person was very outspoken about the fact that there is no reincarnation. There's only heaven and hell. And if you're a believer, you go to heaven. And if you don't, you go to hell. Until their dog died. This person loved their dog more than anything. And the dog died fairly suddenly. And all of a sudden, this person wanted to reconnect with their dog. And they remembered me telling a story years ago about connecting to my dog after he had passed and the incredible experience I had. And that person was not open to that at that time, but they remembered it and they reached out to me and said, is that person that you talked to that helped you talk to your dog still available? And I gave them the number. They called that person. They had a animal communication session where their dog came through with a very specific message, nothing that the person could have made up. And along with that absolute proof that it was the dog was a message about truth and love and higher consciousness and that there's only love on the other side, and that heaven and hell is an experience that we have here based on our level of consciousness, and that on the other side, there was only love. And that was the beginning of this person's incredible awakening experience. They are now a fully awakened, beautiful, divine being who has found a deeper understanding of the greater purpose in all of this. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch. But it was the love for that person's dog that inspired their awakening. I can think of a really great friend whose boyfriend was complete atheist, did not believe in anything at all. And she just kept being who she is. And she was very happy, very loving. They really loved each other. And after a period of time, he really began to explore her own beliefs. And he went through his own awakening experience to his truth. But it was his love for her that allowed him to awaken. Your love for science can help you awaken. Your love for anything, your love for the animals, your love for nature, your love for a person. For me, my awakening experience began with the transition of my brother, who I loved very much. It was my love for my brother that allowed me to stay open when I had the experience of him communicating with me from the other side when I went to the viewing of his body shortly after he died. Had it not been my brother, and had I not had that love, I may not have allowed that experience through, but I so deeply wanted to reconnect with him that I went beyond my limited beliefs and allowed myself to communicate with him. Other times, people have an awakening experience through, the loss of their business or their identity or their job. Other people have experiences of having a health crisis or a near-death experience, and they reconnect with what they love from a much deeper level, which is what leads to their awakening experience. I love this question and I appreciate this question. And we never know what another soul's journey is or what it will be. I have a family member who's had a drug problem for a very long time. And yet you can still see that awakening is occurring there, not because they love drugs, but because love is opening them to awaken more fully to who they are. So I hope that was helpful. Good question. Another question. I've been in the process of getting through writing my book about all the adversities and seeing an angel when I was just 2.5 years old, living with a mother who was abusive, and living in the absurdity and craziness of Vietnam at that time. It's about loving myself and moving on with life and forgiveness. These past traumas have come up. Tell me how to stay in the moment and still finish the book. These past traumas have come up. How do I stay in the moment and still finish the book? This is a really great question. We talk a lot about stories in our master's class community and our courses. And the council says, in the moment of realization, in the moment of realization, and they define realization in the journey of realization. So for most people, we first go through an awakening experience. In fact, Mike Dooley and I did an interview today for a podcast called I'm Awake, Now What? Right? So we go through this awakening experience. We realize we're not our circumstances and conditions. We're not the things that have happened to us. We begin to ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? Right? We begin to realize we can change our circumstances and conditions. And despite what you have been through in your life, you can still have peace and joy and love and harmony. You can transform and change your life. And so our awakening experience often ignites that process. And from awakening, we move into realization. As you've heard me say in other podcast episodes, when I first heard the realization of the word realization, I had no idea what it meant. It didn't seem all that important to me. It didn't seem to answer my question about how I was going to be happier and more successful and healthier and have better relationships and more abundance. But Realization really is the key to everything. It's the integration of every part of you into your wholeness, into your fullness, into your completeness, into the truth of all that you are, into your power, and into a state of pure love. And the council says, when you come into realization, the past is healed, it's whole. And while that was an experience you had, there are multiple different timelines of potential of other realities that are here for you to explore. It doesn't mean you change the past. If you were to allow yourself to imagine, for example, if you were to create your childhood story the way you want it to be, and you begin to play in that potential, what is that story? What is that experience? And so it's not about changing the past, but if you can also, as you're writing your book, allow yourself to understand or play in other potentials or possibilities, it doesn't mean you change the past. It means that you begin to focus on another experience that is available to you. Staying in the moment, for me, one of the most powerful tools is taking some deep breaths, conscious and present in the moment, and taking some deep breaths. I believe all grief, all sadness, all the emotions that come up, as the council says, it comes from the thoughts we're thinking and the story we're telling ourselves. That could be a very real experience you have. But when we go back into that, our body doesn't realize that that's not happening right now. So all those emotions come back. When you can stay present and conscious to the underlying truth of the love that you are, this is not who I am. And you begin to share that story. You can stay in your power. You can share your story from that place of power. In fact, I would encourage you to make sure you are in your power, in your heart, and write from that place. We have a wonderful woman in our master's class community who has spent the past many years focused on trauma and helping people heal from extreme trauma by sharing her story of extreme trauma that she has experienced in her life. And at some point, she came to this moment where she was ready for a new story. It doesn't mean the trauma didn't happen, but you can tell a new story. Is there a story here of love and forgiveness that you can write from a different perspective aligned to your power? Play around with that. Notice in the moment how you feel. If you're really feeling a lot of past trauma coming up, then take the time to be present with yourself. Give yourself the love, the compassion, the care that that little girl did not receive. Give yourself the love and compassion and care now that that little girl within you didn't receive back then. And sometimes there's some very beautiful healing experiences that occur there. I hope that's helpful. Another question. When I channel with a client and I hear a message that I know is for me, I do get super emotional and cry. Does that mean that I'm not channeling and just speaking from my previous knowledge? Um, no, it doesn't. And even if you are in that moment, more attuned to your own previous experience or knowledge that you have, it's just as valuable as what you may be bringing through in your channel. There's been a couple of times, it's usually these moments where the council is bringing through this very deep love for someone in a message. And I just feel that love and that emotion in every cell of my body. And I can feel the tears running down my face. There's been a few times in our master's class community that people also can very visually see the emotional effect that I'm having with the energy or the information that's coming through in the channel, because it's just such an intensely loving feeling. And so I still know I'm in channel, but I can also be very aware of how my human part of me is feeling. And so I think I would just tell you on that, just trust yourself. Just trust yourself. Maybe that emotion you're feeling is actually part of what the channel wants to bring through. So trust yourself. The next question. Hi, Sarah. The dream I have seems so impossible. I'm facing a financial situation. How I still make this a reality? I'll be the first person to tell you, time and time and time again. I see people who are in financial situations that they have never had before in their life. And it occurs somewhere along the path of moving their dream into reality. And so the first thing I would say is shifting your focus to how abundant you are. Take a little time and actually reflect on all the things that have happened in your life that were divinely orchestrated, that were synchronicities. Sometimes I can take just one person in my life, like, for example, one of my dearest friends, and I can go back to all the ways, all the things that had to have been divinely orchestrated every step of the way for me to meet that person. I can do that same thing with Mike Dooley. There were three different people that were an introduction to an introduction to an introduction that led to the moment where I was introduced to Mike Dooley and this dream became a reality. Here's the thing: the most priceless, most important steps to realizing your dreams are people, are connections, are people that are going to show up in your life out of the blue that have been divinely orchestrated in place in your life. And you couldn't buy those connections or those opportunities. They're absolutely priceless. They're priceless. They're priceless. If someone would have said to Mike Dooley, here, we'll give you X amount of dollars, or if I would have said to Mike Dooley, here, let me give you X amount of dollars to write a book with me, it wouldn't have happened that way. It was following the energy, following the light. It was divinely orchestrated. We both know we were used by the divine for something so much bigger than ourselves to bring this book and this wisdom to the world. And for me, I know my whole life was preparing me for this. And so maybe your financial situation is the very thing that's helping you come back into your power to get clear on what you really want so that you can move your dream into your reality. I will also be the first person to tell you that I went through several different struggles and issues and challenges along this way where I almost quit. And I didn't think this was possible at all. And yet something would always show up just in the divine perfect time to keep me going down this path, to renew my faith or belief that maybe it would be possible. So I believe anytime you have a financial situation or a health situation, I've seen people have health situations in these experiences when they're moving towards their dream becoming reality. And all of these things are there to bring you into a new level of your power so that you can get clear on what you really want, so that you can focus your dream into your reality. Recently, on a channeled call, someone said, my life is great. I'm spending 3 months overseas. I'm having this incredible experience. I can feel all these things expanding. I know my dream is moving into reality. And then all of a sudden, I started having this terrible pain in my foot. And it won't go away. And I've tried everything. And it's been going on for weeks. And the council said, well, why don't you ask your body what it's trying to say to you? And she tuned into her body and specifically into her feet. And the message was, I'm your foot. I'm what's going to take you into all of this expansion. I'm what you're going to walk on as you step into the life of your dreams. I'm what's going to support you on this journey of living an extraordinary life. You're going to walk on me, and I'm going to be the one that takes you where you want to go. Just love me, appreciate me. I just want you to notice before we step into this extraordinary life that you've created that I'm the one carrying you. I'm the feet beneath you, carrying you into this dream so that you can experience it. And it was just a really powerful, beautiful message. Sometimes the experience of a financial situation is bringing you into a level of consciousness where you do not unconsciously give your power away and go into fear and go into lack and limitation and deny your worthiness because of the number in your bank account, or deny love for yourself because of how much money you have or don't have. And I've seen this many times. I've had my own experience with it. I seemingly could not access any money at all at one particular time. And it was only when I stopped giving my power away, feeling miserable about it, denying my own love for myself because of some number on a bank account or cash, that everything changed for me. And I now look back at that and I can see how it was a blessing for me. So I hope that maybe that will give you a little bit different perspective on your experience. We're going to bring the counsel in here in just a minute. I'm going to answer one more question. Is there a science of source? Is there a science of source that supports and enables how channels and higher dimensional beings are possible? It's really simple to me. It is about consciousness, and everything is available to us. Everything is that oneness, everything is known, but it is known and experienced in higher levels of consciousness or vibration. I'll give you a perfect example. When someone is in horrific grief because someone they love just passed away, grief and shame are some of the heaviest, densest human emotions. And in that moment, you are as far away from your own truth as you could possibly be, which means you're in a lower level of consciousness, a lower vibration. You're also as far away from that person or their soul or connecting to them in that moment as you could be when you're in horrible grief or shame. And yet you're perceiving that this person is gone and you'll never see them. And that vibration keeps you from accessing the consciousness and the experience of their presence and message to you or guidance to you right now in this moment. So I tell people to remember, first off, that underneath that grief is love. Underneath that grief is love. And so when you begin to reconnect with the love you have for that person, when you think of a time when you most loved them, or when you had a beautiful experience together, you have a picture of them when they were so happy, start to focus on that. Focus on the love you have for them. Focus on the wonderful experiences you had. Focus on all the things you loved about them. You know, what was their favorite t-shirt, or what was their favorite pair of shoes, or what were they wearing on the day that you remember them being the most happy? In that moment, you will feel them right there with you. And if you ask them for a message, they will come through and give you a message. If you ask them to put their arms around you, you'll feel them energetically. From a scientific perspective, they can absolutely measure brainwave states and compare that to the level of consciousness someone can access or experience, or intuition. Many studies have been done about remote viewing and things like that are all done by going into a higher brainwave state. And I think that's truly my experience as well, is just learning to focus my vibration and elevate those brainwave states to access a higher level of consciousness that's available to everyone. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, we're going to bring in the council. Go get your copy of The Dream, the Journey, Eternity and God, Channeled Answers to Life's Deepest Questions from your favorite retailer. If you love the book, and I hope you do, please write a review wherever you bought the book. It helps other people to understand the messages in the book and share more of this wisdom with the world. So thank you all for being here. We have one other very important announcement. If you're joining us live this Monday, June 26th, we are kicking off a brand new 3-day channeled course called Abundance now. So, to my friend who had the question about their financial situation, abundance now, allowing prosperity in every area of your life. We're going to dive deeply into how to create more prosperity, abundance, wealth, richness, and tune in to the infinite abundance that is here and available to everyone. So join us live on June 26th as we kick off Abundance Now. If you're listening to this sometime in the future, that course will be available on our website, Abundance Now, allowing prosperity in every area of your life. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the council for a message for us. Um, Thank you all for being here. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please do so, and we'll let you know when a new episode will be airing. You can find lots of other episodes similar to this, different topics on our YouTube channel, Sara Landon Life, and many other free resources at saralandon.com. So you can go particularly under the free resources. You can also subscribe to our daily quotes, and there's a very special gift available on our website of our favorite highlights of our Grander Perspective series we did. So you can find lots of different free gifts there and other videos on YouTube. So, all right, everybody, here we go. I'm just going to close my eyes and take a few deep breaths, and the council will begin. My eyes are closed while I'm channeling. If it feels good to you to close your eyes as well, I encourage you to do so and just really feel for the vibration. If you're new to channeling, it's a very natural, normal thing. We all do it from time to time. I have just practiced reaching for the council's vibration and translating their streams of consciousness for so long that it's a very easy thing for me to do, but we truly all do have access to this. And if you're drawn to channeling in any way, the council says you yourself are also a channel, even if it may express differently or you have different gifts than verbal channeling or ways that other people channel higher wisdom. So here we go. We are so pleased and delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you all on this fine and glorious day indeed. And we remind you that while our words to you are important, this is a vibrational experience of remembering the truth of who you really are and why you are here and all that you intended when you chose this magnificent life experience. You are so much more than you know yourself to be, but there is a grander part of you that is connected to everything and everyone and is the part of you that is the consciousness and energy in everything. There is a part of you that knows who you will become, knows the unfolding of this magnificent journey that you are on. And while your logical human minds could never understand it, there is a part of you that has already created everything you wish to realize. But you have come forth into this physical experience to realize it into form for the very joy of playing and creating and allowing your dreams to move into your reality, not forcing them, efforting them, making them happen, but realizing your dreams. They were placed within you. They are sacred and divine. They are the very desires that will lead to your greatest expansion and the most extraordinary life possible for you. You may be living a good life. You may have a wonderful family and a good job, and it seems all good. But you may feel this deeper desire, this deeper dream. You may have no idea how you will go from where you are to where you wish to be. But the energy and the light is always guiding you. There is always love and support and guidance here for you in every moment. These dreams and desires, even the biggest dreams and desires you have, are leading you to your highest potential, to the extraordinary life experience that you chose for yourself. It's not better than, but Your dreams are in your heart for a reason. And this is the time for you to realize them, experience them, create them within your reality. We simply say to you, do not deny nor doubt your power. Do not deny nor doubt your power to move your dreams into reality. And it is not so much the human part of you or the mental thinking mind that will move your dreams into reality. It is love, it is joy, it is passion, it is excitement. It's about getting excited about your life and everything that is possible for you. The more you feel the joy and the love you have, and understand that whatever you desire is all part of leading you to the expansion and the realization of all that you are. There are endless possibilities and potentials for you. Don't make it so hard. If you think an opportunity has passed you by, we assure you another one will come. You cannot get this wrong. You can only hold yourself in limitation and not allow yourself to go with and into the expansion that is here for you. You have been elevating your consciousness, your vibration, your awareness. You've been focused on feeling good more often, and it is opening up to you a whole new world. We ask you this: can you receive the dream in your heart? Can you receive the dream in your heart becoming your reality? If tomorrow were the day that your biggest dream and your deepest desire was going to move into your reality as your experience, as that dream come true, can you receive it? Can you allow it? Do you know that you are worthy of it? We assure you, you are. And that dream would not be in your heart if it were not possible for you. When you resist anything at all, you're resisting everything. When you open up and allow and receive even the most simple thing, you're opening and allowing and receiving everything. You are worthy of the dream in your heart. You could not be more loved, more guided, more supported. We assure you, it's time. It is time to realize the dream in your heart and receive it into your reality. If it feels really big, enjoy the unfolding, enjoy the journey until the moment that it just becomes the logical, obvious, next perfect step. And you can look and see how divine orchestration was preparing you every step of the way for this moment when that big dream becomes your reality. Can you receive it? Will you receive it? Get excited about it. Get ready for it. We assure you, anything and everything is possible for you. You are everything you wish to be. You already are. It is all within you, and it always will be. We are always with you. We are always available to you. We love you. We love you. We love you. And with that, we are complete. Thank you all for being here. I truly hope the dream in your heart becomes your reality in the most beautiful, amazing way. I love you all. Thank you for being part of our community, and we'll see you next time for Journey of the Master.